is brought to you by Gassam Cement.
Hello and welcome to Hot Issues. This week, we'll be taking a look at various issues in the business sector. We'll be taking a look at the economic situation generally in the country. Hello and welcome to Hot Issues. We'll be looking generally at the economic situation in the country. We'll be looking at prospects for business. We'll be looking at the banking sector and so many other things. And we are particularly privileged to have with us in the studio Prince Kofi Amoabeng. And I'm sure you know Prince Kofi Amoabeng. He was CEO of UT Bank. He's one of the principal directors of UT Holdings and so on. He's been in the business sector for a very, very long time, and he should know what is taking in the business sector. And we are privileged to have him in the studio today. So you're welcome.
Thank you, Kwesi.
Yes, sir. How is business generally?
What a question. I think generally it's not good. Let me say it straight to the point. It could be better. The business in Ghana is supposed to reside 80% or so in the informal sector or the SME sector. Now, this sector, over the past 2-3 years, have actually been through a lot of hell. Talk about the doomsaw, the CD, depreciation against major currencies, high inflation, high cost of doing business, high lending if you can find it. And it's cost them a lot. And because of where, for example, UT Bank sits, we also feel it. And so our performance for the past 2 years hasn't been good as a result of that. So business for some sectors have been really, really bad. Manufacturing has been hit seriously because of lack of electricity. And people have to probably take their monies, their working capital to probably buy generators, which bring the cost of doing business very high, and they have to fuel these generators. And the import sector, you find that the city is not stable, so by the time you sell half of your goods, you've already made a loss and you cannot pay the suppliers, you cannot pay for your loans, on and on and on. And even my barber came to my house to have my hair cut. I wanted to have my hair cut. And when I came, he was sleeping. And I said, at 8 a.m., how can you be sleeping? He says, sir, no lights, mosquitoes. I didn't sleep last night. So it's not just about business. It's really hard times for a lot of people.
But are there businesses which are doing well?
Let me see. Yes, some businesses are doing well. Even in the same banking sector, depending on how you position yourself. Some have stayed clear of the storm, so to speak. So they don't deal with just any SME, but they choose their markets carefully. They probably concentrate on the corporates and a few SMEs that they're used to and of repute, and then do a lot more of maybe lending to the government. Mm-hmm. So you realize that some of the banks are showing very good profits, and I think they've done well because they've steered the business away from the storm. Some of us haven't been that astute, or because of where we're coming from and what drives our business and what we think we want to do for the economy, we've stayed with the storm and we've been beaten about a bit. But banking sector is doing well. I think certainly the telcos must be doing well, even though they say they are making losses. I don't think they are making losses because all the money in the country is going to them. Hospitality has suffered a bit because of Ebola and also because the economy is not doing that well. But I think basically the banking sector and telcos and things like that, and the IT section, yeah.
What can be done to revamp the banking industry? Or sectors of the banking industry that are not doing so well?
I think, let me try and take from the perspective of UT Bank, because what we had to do, because of the lackluster performance in the past couple of years, is we had to take a step back and look at the whole, all the factors hitting the economy, and segment the markets again and said, we're not too comfortable with this sector, so we'll probably not do a lot of loans there. We're comfortable with this sector, we can manage the risk and things like that. Because bear in mind, you don't expect that all of a sudden there will not be no more doomsaw and the economy is going to be right. So you must prepare for the worst situation. After you segment the markets to know where you think you can handle the risk and things, then you have to also take an introspective inspection, as in what you want to do, the structures that you have. Are they good enough? Are you monitoring enough? Is the appraisal system good enough? And even assess the people who are sitting on these jobs. So we did an internal assessment of the entire staff and started placing the staffs where we think they have to be, and then also have a training package to make sure that they are on top of their business. And then put in a good appraisal system amongst others so that you can assess them more or less very quantitatively and objectively on what they're delivering. Staff normally are not too comfortable with such things, but it has to be done, because as things get tough, it's only those who are really focused and know what they're about that are going to succeed. So basically that's what companies have to do. They have to be more robust, have to expect the worst, and have to have the structures that will ensure that if things don't get well, they can still survive.
But isn't this about focusing on the profit motive for the specific institutions? Just focusing on the profit motive, forgetting about the broader social context within which you operate?
You are right. But the point is that the companies are owned by shareholders, and shareholders want to maximize their profit. So if they put you there as a CEO, as a director of the company, and you love the people and love the economy, and so you are doing what will help the economy but it's not bringing the profit, and it's not sustainable, you lose your job. So it is a bit of both, really, because the people should love what you do to come to you. And it's through them coming to you, the market coming to you, or you satisfy the market, that you also make the profit. So it's not all about profit, and it's not all about serving the needs of the people. It's a matter of identifying what the people need and having the structures to deliver to their satisfaction. So they always come back to you. Then you can make the profit. I always say profit is not the first motive. The profit will come if you position the business that people want, and people want to pay for, and they're happy with it, then the profits will come.
It's been suggested that interest rates are very, very high. Is that true?
Interest rates are high, and they will continue to be high.
Why?
If you have money, and you don't want to employ anybody, and you don't want to pay any bills, you give it to the government, buy treasury bills. You get 25% equivalent in interest, and go to bed. And you make 25%. Now, if you are running a financial services institution, you also compete with the government to take these monies at 25%. That is the cost of the money. Now, you are going to employ people, put in electricity, all the utilities, IT, the letters, because people want to see the accounts or their whatever, and give loans with the monies and expect the people to pay back. You can only lend the monies at more than the 25%, not even 30%. It's not sustainable. So necessarily, interest rates have to be high. Until and unless the government's competition with the financial services has lessened, or the government starts borrowing as it's borrowing, interest rates will be high.
But that also impedes, the development of industry, it impedes the development of agriculture and so on. Absolutely.
So it's a vicious circle. Because interest rates are high, the cost of doing business is high, businesses will fail, and the government won't get more taxes. The government doesn't get more taxes, it must borrow from the public, and as it borrows, it means interest rates have to stay high. So it's a matter of where we break the cycle.
Now, what else may be done in order to bring the interest rates down beyond government limiting its borrowing?
You see, I think the issue that the government borrows, and as is expected, is supposed to put them in ventures that are profitable, that brings relief to the people, and the government gets revenue out of it. And therefore, it will limit the lending that they're getting from the public. Unfortunately, most of the businesses face their problems, and there's too much corruption in the system, so we don't get the intended results, and the government has to go back and borrow some more money. In the end, I will not say the problem is really getting profitable business. The problem with this country is the breaking down the institutions that should stop the leakages. I would say that the government, if they want to borrow, should not borrow to put into maybe infrastructure, borrow to fix the institutions. When the institutions are fixed and the systems are working as they're supposed to work and monitored, it will even bring more business, because businesses will go where they are protected. So if you want to do business in Ghana, for example, and you could go wrong, business is about risk. So you start by buying a piece of land, and that land is sold to about 6 people. And you go to the police station to lodge a complaint. You have all the issues. If you are not lucky, it goes even to court. And I won't say anything about our courts now. So the business dies. But there has to be the institutions to support business and protect the businesses so that people, the number of Ghanaians outside who want to come back and set up something, it's unbelievable. I meet them every day. But they come, and because the systems are weak and the institutions are not working, they have to go back or end up being poor. So I think the priority in trying to bring interest rate down, get business going, should be on fixing the institutions and the systems that we have, plus the structures that enables business to be done. Because if the laws are not working, I don't even believe in new laws. Let's make the ones that are existing work. Let's empower the police service, the judicial service. Look at the death and birth registry. It's a mockery. These are the basic institutions that we have to build and support and pay people well and monitor and make sure we get the desired results. Water, you see, will find its own level. Business will find its own level, but to go where it feels protected. That's where monies go.
Well, there's a lot of profit.
You know?
Anyway, how long were you chief executive of UT Bank?
I'm still chief executive of UT Bank.
But I understand
until the end of the year.
You are leaving. The end of the year is only a month away.
A month and a half. Now, I think the whole UT started 1997, I would say, so about 18 years ago, as a financial service, as Unique Trust and as UT Financial Services. And I've been the CEO from inception, when we had a staff of 4 sitting around one table, countermount and all those things, and we built it to where it is now. As a bank, it's been a bank. We bought a bank, BPI Bank, and then remodeled it into UT Bank, and I've been the CEO of the bank for the past 6 years. So 18 years of building UT and being and becoming a bank, and 6 years of being a CEO of a bank. The irony is that we started this UT Financial Service or Unique Trust because I was frustrated by the banks and I hated the banks. Full circle, I've become a banker and a CEO of a bank. It's very ironical, but that's the story.
Is there something you're doing differently?
As a bank, we have tried to stay focused on the SME sector, lending them monies as and when they want in a very responsive way.
Small and medium scale.
Exactly, small and medium enterprises. And being very responsive, because that is what they need. And that's also very paradoxical, because they, being the riskier part of the business, they need to be serviced faster than the corporates. Because the corporates can plan and budget and sit and say, I need it next 6 months. With the SMEs, they are hit like today. Somebody says the goods are sitting there, giving money and take them. And you can't wait 1 month, 2 months to process such a facility. So we developed strategies to ensure that we could service this SME sector. And I think that is how come we're successful over the years. So even as at now, we still remain focused on the SME sector. And we call ourselves the unique bank for real people, because the real people are those in the informal and SME sector.
From a desktop business to a huge bank. It's a very long distance. You've made substantial progress. What accounts for this progress?
I've been reflecting on it, and I've been asked a lot. You see, I have a simple philosophy, which is we don't even know why we are here in this world. If God or nature puts you here, I think you should expect that you are here because you're supposed to add to nature. And nature is the environment, but basically the people. So I think the reason why we're here is to impact on people's lives positively. So if you find something that you love or appreciate, and you think you can do it well to the benefit of people, then you have to do it. And I describe passion as something between these two loves. You must love people generally, and then you must also love a product or a service. Then you bring this product or service to affect the lives of the people that you love. So why we've done it is because I personally was frustrated. I knew how it could impede, the lack of finance and things could do to your lives and bring poverty. So when we started and started rolling, and I could see changes in people's lives, and I sit back and reflect, and I know the numerous people and businesses that we've helped to be what they are, and their impact on other sectors of the economy. You will not stay idle. You keep doing more. So we started lending to people in the markets and things like that. We saw the effect. We still grew the business, raised more money, and built branches and grew the company. And they said we could even go into banking, and we pursued it. It's because it's a joy to see how what you're doing is impact on people's lives.
Are we seeing another side of you? Sound like you're preaching. Sounds like you're in the pulpit. Is that another side of you?
Well, it's funny because some people, because of some of the ways we went about things, think I'm the son of the devil. So I'm surprised that you're saying he looks at preaching. Some people think...
When you're beginning to talk about the purpose of man on earth and so on, sounds very much like a sermon.
Well, it's a sermon according to Kofi Amoabeng.
Yeah. But what are some of the things that you did which make people think that you were not that
religious or spiritual or whatever?
In your own words, made people think that you were the devil.
You know, people don't want... I think most times we don't... I can't get a better word. We don't think straight. Here's an institution that is there to help people. And we go to take people's hard-earned monies, and we're supposed to pay back with interest. We want to use these monies to help other people. And people walk to us, we listen to their complaints and their lapses and what it would take to help them. And we decide that, yes, I think we can take a gamble with this guy. We explain the terms and everything. There's a contract and everything that you have to do, and we give you other people's monies. Now, for some reason, this person gets lost. You call, the phone is off, you go to the house, he's not there, and you have to go at times at 12 midnight. I used to go myself. Now, I think an should sympathize with us and not with the crooks. So if you go to somebody's house at 12, they say, why didn't you allow the person to sleep? Me, the person who went for the monies and sympathized with this guy to get them, I'm not sleeping at 12 because of this crook. And they think I am in the wrong. I can never understand. That's why I'm saying that at times we don't think straight. Instead of them saying, oh, why are they worrying these people like that? They should go and give them the money. They say, oh, no, they won't let you sleep if you take their money. Of course, if you come forward and say, I even have a problem, and this is the problem, because what we discussed was this, what is happening is this, we have the patience to listen, and together we can solve the problem. Mm-hmm. I have always known that business is about risk. But for me, it's your character first and your attitude. You should know you owe. And when they come for the loans, they carry all sort of collateral documents and things like that. The real meaning is that if I should fail to pay, sell this. Mm-hmm. But then they fail to pay, they still want to live in the house, and I don't understand who is going to pay those monies. And again, to get back to the systems, one of the interesting things is that they are able to influence the system so that judgment is delayed, and I have UT has cases in court that is over 6 years, if not 10 years old, and with no judgment. In actual fact, there's one case that made me crazy. There's a case where we gave the person a loan, he went to court, and UT was found guilty of giving the money. And I'm saying, at least tell the man that go and give them their principal. But we were found guilty of giving money. But until Anna's report, I didn't see how that was possible. But when I saw Anna's report, I said, okay, then of course it's possible for a judge to give that kind of ruling. So people should sympathize and understand the way things flow. We've always been there to help people, to help businesses so they can also employ people and help other businesses and help employ people and so on and so forth. But you cannot help one side and hurt the other. For it to be sustainable, you must also keep faith with your investors and make sure that your shareholders get their profit, the investors get their monies back on time and with agreed interest and so on and so forth. But they look at only one side. Because if people do not pay, and you leave them not to pay, you're going to hurt a lot of innocent people, including pensioners and things like that.
Well, viewers, this is where we take a short break. And when we come back, I'll still be pursuing the question of why, after such a huge success, Prince Kofi Amoabeng has decided to walk out of the industry and of UT in how many months? 1.5 months' time. So, short break. Hello and welcome back to Hot Issues. And, we are looking at the general business environment, the economic situation in the country, and its related, issues. And we are particularly privileged to have with us in the studio Prince Kofi Amoabeng, CEO of UT Bank and one of the top directors of UT Holdings. So why are you walking away in 1.5 months?
I was walking away about 3 years ago. You see, one thing is I believe in institutions and systems and processes. And I said it before 3 years ago that when I'm 60, I'm going to walk away. And
are you 60?
I'm 63. So nobody believed that I could do it. Now what happened was when I was 60, UT Bank was then raising money from the IFCs and DAGs. And part of the covenant was that I should stay as CEO for at least 2 years. Because they were introducing money, they couldn't risk having a new CEO. And for the sake of the company, I stayed for 2 years. After 2 years, this company wasn't in the best of shape because of the problems that we talked about. So we had to put in a new team and also a new strategy, business plan, and I had to see it working and delivering the results. And as a matter of fact, I've now seen that what we started doing is turning the fortunes of the bank around, and I have to leave for the new team to do the business or to carry on doing the banking. I've been at the Home Affairs for 18 years. I've been more past my retirement age of 60, and I think it's the right time to go. And I also want to see what happens to what we have built. I don't want to stay there until I'm dead and then you wouldn't know what happened. I think you need to have a good succession plan, let people carry on, because one thing people tend to forget is when you build a company, it's not for you. It's for management, staff, it's for shareholders, it's for the customers, it's for the nation to take taxes from, it's for even the people in the community, for you to do corporate social responsibility. The company is not for an individual. So you build it, don't sit and let it go back to smithereens. Make sure that wherever you reach and you think that this is a time for other people to carry, they carry on for the sake of humanity and for everyone. So I think it's time. 18 years is a long time. 63 is past pension, so I have to take a bow.
What are you walking into?
A lot more private. I'll be playing a lot more golf. I hope I'll be traveling a bit
I
more.
hope it's not professional golf.
It's late now to play professional golf.
So how would you be eating? Or you already have enough?
No, I'm on good pension.
Oh, okay.
Even Senate pays me my pension, and I'm going to be retired with a package, I hope. And I do have shares in the company and other companies, so I have some investments. So play a lot more golf. I think I should travel a bit because 18 years as CEO, I've gone on leave probably 18 days in total because I had to devote my everything to the company. And I think I also play a role as a brand ambassador because it's not only UT Bank. We've got UT Logistics, UT Properties, UT Private Securities, UT Life. So I think I need to interact with the staff, with the companies, and with the clients of the companies and things. So I will have quite a bit to do. But the first 6 months will be for me.
That is?
That is, I play golf,
Chilling.
I travel, and rest.
I see. Now, you're walking away from the bank. How do you see the future of your bank, the future of other financial institutions, and broadly speaking, the future of the Ghanaian economy? I have 4 questions in one.
The future of UT Bank is quite bright. I've got a good team in place with the right expertise who can do a better job than I'm doing. They have all the structures. We started struggling from the beginning. They don't have to struggle. It's a matter of just building on what we have. So the future of UT Bank, I think, is bright because they still focus on SME, and SME is where they have to focus. I can't think of anything else. I think what is a bit lacking is that we're not driving liabilities enough, which they've identified. They've identified exactly what they have to do to take it to the next step. So UT Bank has a future, but to move to the next point is, if you look at the banking industry, people are talking about consolidation in the banking industry, as in there are 29 or so banks in a small economy, and therefore the banks should merge and consolidate and all those things. That is a bit tricky, and we have to be very careful about it. One is that there are 18 foreign banks about. So there cannot be consolidation in the 18 foreign banks because you can't ask Zenith and Stanchart to merge. I mean, they've got their own parents and their own plans. So then the consolidation will be with the Ghanaian banks.
The Ghanaian banks will be losing their identity.
Exactly. Now the Ghanaian banks, maybe about 10 of them, and they are not the biggest of the banks. So either you merge the Ghanaian banks or they are acquired by some of these foreign banks. So in the end, you probably will end up with, say, 23, 24 banks, and only 4 or 5 will be Ghanaian banks. Is that what we want? I mean, if I can sign away and fight it, I will fight it. But the story always is like, the banks have to be bigger to do bigger ticket business. Who wants to do bigger ticket business? There is a regulation which says you cannot do a transaction more than 25% of your equity. So leave the smaller banks to do those kind of businesses. If they want to venture into big business, they can syndicate with other banks. Because the Ghanaian banks are the smaller banks. So any action that the central bank takes to make the banks big by force will be at the detriment of Ghanaian banks. And for me, this is sad because, again, moving to probably your third point, we have a situation where Ghanaians do not own a good portion of their own economy. And not only the banking sector, because the banking sector, we don't own a good section of it. As I said, 18 and the big ones are foreign. In the oil sector, fine. We don't have the technology, we don't have even the big monies in billions, so we have to take time to learn, and the government has passed the right laws, local content, and so it will take us some time. Mining is still not for us because they are the big companies doing the mining. We do galamsey, which is even illegal. You move from there to even hospitality, and the big hotels are mostly owned by foreigners. The airlines, Ghana Airways is down, and about 30 airlines are flying freely in Ghana and taking up passengers. South Africa just is now going South Africa, Accra, and New York or wherever because we are not operational. So what is left for Ghanaians? Now, I haven't mentioned the telcos, but 6 of them, and we own virtually nothing. A little bit of Westel, a little bit of Vodafone, but we don't control them. So when it comes to the whole economy, we've lost it. And I think the government has to really take bold steps and say that we want to develop Ghanaians and put some of the business into the hands of Ghanaians. I want to see Ghanaian millionaires, possibly billionaires, and a lot of them.
But even the little that is left, we are still dishing it out. Okay. We are giving out to the electricity company.
Exactly. So it's an issue that I think the government has to dialogue with Ghanaian businesses and let's strategize how to put some of this business in the hands of Ghanaians. And otherwise, the way it's going, we always are going to marginalize. And see, when the foreigners become very powerful, they buy our politicians. And when they buy the politicians, it means they still get bigger chunks of the economy. And I have an issue really with even the democracy that we have. I think we need to make some serious fundamental changes. Certainly democracy, but not in the purest form as we have as a one man, one vote. Because even in the States, in America, it is not one man, one vote. And even in the United Nations, it's not one man, one vote. So why have they forced onto us one man, one vote? Because I tell people, because if I should organize free and fair election in my house with a staff of 8, my cook will win. Because he gives them food every day. They don't even know I'm bringing it. So because people can't appreciate issues and understand, we must put in some measures to change our kind of democracy a little bit.
Well, what about the outlook of the general economy going into 2016?
I think it's not looking good, obviously, because if you go on the Eurobond and you can only raise 1 billion at 10.75%, it sends the wrong signals because then local banks and local institutions, local factories and things going to borrow money all have to borrow at something close to that. Luckily, we are able to access money less than that, but it really sets the wrong tone for you to go and negotiate for facilities. I think the government is talking about smart borrowing and all those, which means the borrowing that they do should go into specific projects for the project to pay for it. But at the moment, it's not looking good. We have to let it look good because Ghana enjoys a lot of goodwill outside, as in being stable with democracy and having oil and all those things. And the outside world at this time, definitely without doubt, want to see some success stories in Africa. Gone are the days when we thought they were here to exploit, they didn't want us to progress. But now with the immigration and migrants and all those, they certainly for sure wants to see something good in Africa. So we should take advantage of that. And I think with the kind of goodwill we have and the IMF support and the government will also be disciplined and conform to the IMF directives and things like which I think they will do, we'll have a good chance of turning things around in 2016. The threat is the election that is coming. Because I think certainly money will be needed for campaign from both sides, and that is probably going to fuel inflation again and probably affect the value of the cedi against major currencies again. But if we can go through 2016, we still have a chance, I think.
Now, is it true that you're having quite some difficulty recovering some loans that you've granted?
That is true. Every bank in Ghana has. Ours is probably heightened because, as I said, we're dealing with the informal sector and the SMEs. And the issue is most of the big suppliers supply to government. And we have the issue about the BDCs. And the BDCs have not been paid under recoveries, that the subsidies that they put on it. So it immediately owes you, those monies haven't come. Then there's also foreign exchange the government was supposed to give them, and the foreign exchange allocations have delayed. What happens is that then when they are given allocations, the cedi has depreciated or been devalued, and therefore there's a gap that they can never pay. So the BDC or energy sector has its own dynamics, which is hurting the banks and hurting the operators. Then you have other government contractors, like road contractors and things, some of them sitting on our books that have not been paid. They finished the job, they present certificates, but still haven't been paid because the government's position is not liquid enough or they don't have the means to pay. It comes back to hurt the banking sector, and of course it hurts the operators. Then there's also the normal business operators like manufacturers and importers, as I said, who, because of dooms or cedis, depreciation against other currencies, high inflation and the high costs and delays in payments, cannot meet the payments. Mm-hmm. So it's really hurting a lot of the banks. And as I said, it depends on who is staying away from the storm. Unfortunately, the storm is where there will be impact to the economy. But if we all stay out of it, then how are business going to be supported and to grow? Mm. So it's a fact that there are a lot of loans that are not performing as planned in the books of banks.
Now, how do you propose to deal with this problem? Because the banks could go under.
I think in the case of UT, part of the strategy is to actually recapitalize so that we have fresh capital and then we give the businesses more time to make payments, restructure sort of, and give them more time. Because it's not that businesses are dead, but the businesses have gone through bad times. So you need them a bit of space and do extended payment for them to make payment. But in the meantime, you need to fill the gap with new capital and then start with new strategies and things to rebuild the business and make it stronger. And look also at the structures of the business so that if the situation persists or it should come back again, you can withstand it.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a contractor. Now, this guy won a contract for X amount. There was delay in payment. The interests were running. And by the time that I was talking to him, he needed 150% of the contract sum to be able to retire his indebtedness. How would you deal with such a situation as a bank?
It's a tough one. There are situations where when that happens,
because he simply cannot pay.
I understand. But see, to go to the bank to take a facility, you go with a collateral. As a business person, you are in business and therefore you should know how to manage your risks. I don't know his special situation, but if I were him, and some people have done it, when you see that delay is coming on and that the amount that you're going to be paid cannot pay for the debt, you actually should dispose of the collateral and pay off your debt. It's a bad business.
Wow.
Yes, it's business. You want to do it. And you said, listen, I'm prepared to sacrifice this collateral if the business doesn't go through. So really, he should have taken earlier steps to dispose of the collateral. It may seem harsh, but that is the risk that you took.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Because if the collateral itself is the X value,
yeah,
then now he has to sell the collateral and has to look for more.
Look, sell the collateral and then pursue your money from the government.
But he loses all. He loses the collateral, loses the money from
But the government will pay eventually. But as you said, if you're not careful, by the time you are paid the money, it's not enough and the collateral will also be attacked.
Yeah.
So it's not a pleasant thing selling people's properties. I've been in it. I've sold quite a lot of properties. It's not pleasant, but what do? Do you say you'll not sell the collateral so that the deposit monies will go to waste or they should lose their monies? I mean, Bank of Ghana won't even allow that. I mean, the regulator won't allow that. It is harsh, but again, that is where the government not paying actually hurts. And people should know which kind of contracts they pick up. But at times you have the equipment and you have men sitting down and somebody comes and you think you have lobbied for a contract. So they give you a contract, Ghana government contract, and you go and borrow money to fix it, and the monies are not there.
Welcome back to Hot Issues. And we're in conversation with Prince Kofi Amoabeng, CEO of UT Bank, and we are told that he's on his way out. Sir, is there a coupling of politics and business? Is it a necessary coupling?
I think naturally, yes. The politics shapes the environment in which businesses operate. And therefore, business should be interested in what is happening in the political climate. Unfortunately, I think we have a history where the business players have to be very, very careful what they say to the politicians. Because we have a history not too long ago where businesses were being closed down and chased, businessmen were chased, market women were chased, and they were branded as corrupt and things like that. And depending on which side of the divide you were, your business could not see the day of light. Mm-hmm. So business have actually shunned away or recoiled from politics, which is sad, because I think the politicians should listen to what the businesses want and create an environment, because development will be through business. And the politicians should know that they are supposed to create an environment for the businesses to thrive, for the countries to succeed. So yes, the coupling is automatic, it's natural, it has to take place, but unfortunately it's not taking place in the manner in which it should, if it's taking place at all.
To what extent should businesses and business people be interested in politics? At what level should they operate in the political arena?
If you should ask me, I think it should be at the highest possible level. I know we have the...
As members of parties or as supporters of policies?
I think as supporters of policies, not as members of parties. If you want to do politics, you can as well go and do politics, but that is not for the general business community, that's for you, the individual. Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to policies and acts and bills being passed, business people should be involved in that. Incidentally, a bit is being done through the Private Enterprise Federation and Association of Ghana Industries and things like that. They always find a way of making their inputs into bills and policies that are being passed. But as I said, because of the immediate past, individual businesses try not to take a stand with any of the political sides. Because if you take a stance and the party doesn't come into power, your business will be dead. It used to be the case. So businesses have shunned away from politics, but they should be seen to be actively supporting, political agendas and be taking part, as you said. And it has to come from the politicians, because they are not there to do the business to develop the people. They are there to create the environment. So they have to actually court the relationship or court the friendship of the business community. And I must say that with this present government, yes, I remember when the cedi was losing at a very fast rate against the dollar, the president invited some of us to Peduasi Lodge as emergency meetings, a business community. What are the real issues that you want us to solve, and how is it impacting on, which was very good. And on 2 occasions we went, shared ideas with them. There was also the Senchi conference or whatever, where again the president and his team went to meet the businesses. So I think both sides realize that yes,
do they take your suggestions seriously?
Listening is one thing, taking the suggestions is another thing. Maybe it takes a bit of time for them to debate and see which ones to implement, but at least listening is good enough that at least they realize the fact that we have to listen and see what comes. Implementation, I don't see much being done, but again, as Obama said, there's a difference between what the president will want to do and what actually can be done. So maybe the president and some of his team want to do things, but the process they have to go through probably stalls it. Mm-hmm. So we're not seeing much being done.
There's been a lot of talk about political patronage in business and how that influences corrupt practices. You are one of the biggest.
It's obvious. I mean, it's obvious in the sense that with the kind of policies that we have, I don't care which party. By the time you win election and come to power, you simply owe. You owe businesses, you owe individuals, you owe on promises, you owe on all sorts of things. And when you owe...
And indeed, some parties borrow money for their campaigns.
I've seen even individuals, parliamentary people, come to me and say they want to raise money at UT interest rates those days at about 6% a month to go and use it to do campaign, and they're going to put their house on it. Wow. So by the time you come to power, you owe. And when you come to power, you have to pay. Not just pay, but pay with interest. Not just pay with interest, but make a profit. And that is the source of the corruption, because people then have to give special dispensations and make some deals to pay these debts. That's part of the woes of the kind of democracy that we have.
What do we do about it?
Because you should know better. I think you are more into politics and things
I don't know business.
Why are you throwing the hot issues at me? Because I think
I've never been CEO of a bank.
I think what can be done, my own perspective is a bit too wild, but at least it's being proposed that parties should be financed, but the state cannot bear all the finances, because we're not talking small monies when we talk about the money that the parties have to find to throw around before they can win the election. So the state cannot fund. I know what some businesses do to stay safe is that they pay one side and pay the other side, but of course they pay the top two parties, so the smaller parties don't get much of those funds. What can be done, which I think calls for a wider discussion, is that we have to have an electoral college, so that political parties don't have to traverse the whole country, all the corners of the country, to come to power.
You're talking about the American system.
Yeah, and even maybe...
Because in America, it's not universal adult suffrage.
Exactly.
It's an electoral college.
Exactly.
It's not every American who votes.
So why are they forcing us to have democracy in this raw form? Because then you have the selected people that you have to talk to win the votes, and they can understand issues better. Because if you go to some place and say that I'm going to put up a KVIP toilet, so vote for me.
Is that not likely also to create a system which is driven by the elite?
Look at us. Our natural system is the chieftaincy. That's a system that is really, really more, what do you call it? Concentrated, as in everything resides in the chief. And the chiefs used to have their own police station, their own prison, their own court. So after you carry the man high and he's danced on your head and everything, he can put you where he wants you to put. So it's a better position than where we're coming from. That's how I would put it. At least we could be ruled not necessarily by the elite. It depends on how we form these electoral colleges. But certainly if you can't understand issues, you have no business voting to determine the fate of people. But that calls for another debate. But currently, our current position will really not give us leaders that can fight corruption. Because by the time they come to power, they owe and they have to pay.
That system itself is based on patronage.
Exactly.
And patronage is corruption.
Exactly. Yeah. So by the time you come to power, you owe and you have to pay. It depends how you can manage your people, but that's depends on the individual.
So now looking at the Ghanaian business environment, if you had the opportunity, what would you do to this business environment? I'm talking about the broad, general business environment.
I think I said it earlier on, that businesses will thrive where the conditions are right. I don't think businesses need direct money support or financial support. I think what businesses need is an enabling environment where the systems work, where the institutions work in the main. We can't have it 100%, but at least we should try and evolve.
Which institutions, which systems would you touch?
Okay.
Is it the police? Is it the judiciary?
You touch all of them.
Is it the statistical service?
You have to touch all of them. The government has to make a definitive effort to make sure that institutions work. Take the naming of streets and number of houses and naming of streets. We campaigned for a long time, it was said on all sorts of fora, and the president actually assured the business community that that was going to be done. It's being done, but even that is being done wrongly. Streets that had some names, and the people who live on the streets were used to those names. They were not consulted. You wake up the next morning, they put this blue signboard there, and they've changed the name of the street. Street names don't change.
That is happening in Roman Ridge.
Street names don't change like that.
I understand the Nana Kunedu Rolling Street, for example, is changed its name.
It's changed its name. Roman Road is changed to Madame Fatia Road, all sort of things. Plus, they don't know what is a road, what is a street, what is a lane, what is an avenue. So we're not even doing that way. But that is basic. It's very necessary. I traveled in Australia some time back. As you enter a town, it tells you the town's mayor, the population of the town, and certainly they know where everybody stays. Today's report about a young man being killed, Vodafone guy being killed, what they were giving, they said the police, after looking around for a time, it took them some time to find the police. People are dying, they can't even locate where they are. People's houses are being buried, or there's fire, and we can't even. This is basic. I say that when those basics are there, business will do better. So move from the data about the people. See, you want to govern the people. You don't have any data about those people. How do you govern them? How do you make them responsible and accountable? How do you ensure you pay your taxes? How do you ensure that these properties are owned by this person, he's paying appropriate tax? That is how you govern. But if you don't have that basic information, then you haven't started. So when I say systems and establishments and processes,
everything has
the
to work.
fundamentals, get address system working, get institutions working, the police service, the court system. We have to really, and you can put a bit of business to it. For example, one business I would want to own, if it's possible, was the judiciary.
Wow. Anyway.
And I could make business out of that.
Thank you very much for
coming.
Thank you,
Chris. It's always my pleasure.
On that note of owning the judiciary and making business out of it. Well, viewers, we've been talking to Prince Kofi Amoabeng.